Our first speaker is Oliver Blumer. Oliver is a chiropractor, a certified acupuncturist, and a functional and integrative medicine provider. He's also an educator and a speaker on transgender and gender expansive topics. Oliver?
Thank you. I appreciate the Dallas Way and UNT Library and outrageous orals. That sounds kind of weird, but anyway, it's something like maybe a mouthwash or something. But I really appreciate being here. I've been waiting for many years, as many as it's been going on, but I'm glad to be here tonight. So, where do I want to take you? I guess I'm going to come from what I call being a two-spirit type person without co-opting any indigenous peoples. I will say that. You have to be very careful and politically correct. So in the sense of twin or two spirits, I'm coming to you in two directions by two ways, having lived in Dallas for 35 years. The first being that I moved to Dallas 35 years ago from Philadelphia. I did grow up in Amarillo, Texas, on the plains. If you know where Amarillo is, it's a little close to almost Oklahoma. When I grew up, I thought that North Texas is where I lived, in Amarillo. I mean, you can't get much further north. But then I moved to Dallas, and they said, no, this is North Texas. I have a hard time feeling that. No, you live in the Panhandle. Okay. Actually, you speak differently here. You speak very differently here than you do in the Panhandle. In the Panhandle, we have what we call a phonetic situation, a sort of almost a pathology in one's speaking, but you can do it with me. You just do that. It's called a lateral spread, like this, and then you talk through it. And that's Texas up in Panhandle. You just talk like this all the time. So I try to learn not to speak that way, but everyone says I have an accent, and when I'm really tired, it really comes out. So moving here 35 years ago, and I came to Dallas with my partner from Philadelphia, we wondered, should we come out? My partner was into a deep industry corporation, Xerox, and she was very afraid to come out. And I said, but we've got to find somebody in this town. I mean, aren't there any lesbians here that, like, you know, do potlucks and go to the opera? Or do we have to keep going to these bars? No. The bars were not quite our scene. But we finally found people that were lesbians and did more than just, you know, potlucks and playing darts at Bobby's or wherever that was. And so I immediately got into my practice as a massage therapist, then went on to chiropractic school and became a chiropractor. And I've practiced 25 years in the Dallas area, and about 8 years ago, I went into sort of I would say a hibernating state where I told my patients I wasn't going to practice anymore, but they wouldn't allow me. So now I have sort of a what we call a boutique practice, where people come and see me at my home. And what I've done since I kind of closed my practice down, I've spent the last 8 years being involved in 501c3 organizations, on boards, chairs of boards, and advisors to boards. Now, before that, as I was pretty much a workaholic. I was with my practice, that was my love, that was my family, that was my baby, and I really loved practicing the way I did and reaching out to the community. But the biggest part of being in sort of a healing profession for me wasn't so much what I did with my hands and what needles I stuck where and watched people get better. The biggest part of healing for me, for myself, after working with patients for months and months, was being able to go to the Women's Chorus of Dallas. Yes, the Women's Chorus of Dallas. I was in the Women's Chorus of Dallas for 11 years under the baton of Tim Seelig, and those were some of the best years of my life because he's a slave driver, for one, but he expected the best, and then whatever the best was, you had to be better. And if you're a singer or a performer or an artist, you like to see the reaction that you get from from those constituents that come to see your work or hear your work. And that was my first real activism in Dallas and in North Texas, was singing with the women's chorus, and many times we paired up with the Turtle Creek Chorale so that we had this like 300 plus voices singing some of the most incredible, beautiful music, and giving it to our patrons. And it was watching their faces and feeling how you move people through music, through tone, that was probably the biggest gift that I felt in that part of my life. It also meant that for lesbians in Dallas, it became a place where you came whether you sang or not, where you could be in a room with about 125 beautiful women, and they became our extended family. They were our extended family. So for 11 years, if I needed anything, if I needed to have something moved from here to there, I could always find a pick-em-up truck and a tool-belted lesbian. And, if anybody got sick, we would be there to help with food and taking care of the yard or things like that. And it was just really such a wonderful extended family. I also was a member of a smaller ensemble group that was generated from the Women's Chorus of Dallas called Mosaic. It's now called Mosaic Song. And it was 14 women who sang very tight harmonies and a lot of ethnic kinds of and gospel show tunes, but we also did a lot of Sweet Honey in the Rock. And we did it quite well. So we sang quite a bit around the area. We sang for other 501c3s so that they could have an event, and we would be the singing part of it, and we did that for free. But we always did a lot of community engagement with other organizations to help them with bringing in money, like dinners and silent auctions and so forth. But for me, the stories that go way back is when we procured a piece of music. It was actually a full symphony and lyrics called Sing for the Cure. And Sing for the Cure was really the first of its kind. It used to be called the Symphony in a Box. And it's now being sung all over the world with small groups and large groups, talking about the stories. The actual lyrics are the stories of individuals who either have had cancer or their loved ones dealing with that cancer, and the ups and downs of being on chemo. And it's a wonderful piece, and you can get the CD from Amazon. I believe it's actually going to be sung by TCU, I think this weekend, at Bass Hall. And so they're calling it TCU Frogs for the Cure. It's beautiful music and very moving. And each time we would sing it, it would just actually bring such energy into our bodies, and the way we move the audience in so many ways that even if you didn't have anything in your life around a person with cancer, someone dying of cancer, there was always some commonality in the music that would move you, and you would go home and feel like, what just touched me? And that was the beauty of being in a group like that. I can remember when we went to Tampa, Florida for events called Gala, and it's every 4 years. The Gala choruses get together from all over the country, actually internationally now. They're gay and lesbian and mixed choruses. That means the gays and lesbians and maybe some allies, straight people, singing together. And so in Tampa, they hadn't really heard the Women's Chorus of Dallas or the Turtle Creek Chorale singing together. So we wowed them with the Women's Chorus music around South Pacific, and rushed into the wings, changed into our black outfits. The Turtle Creek Chorale came in, they began singing, and then halfway through that, the women came in and filled in all the gaps. It was quite a visual. And then we sang together, and we blew people out of the auditorium. It was such a feeling, such a synergy that I can't even explain to you. It's like a perfect storm. And those kinds of feelings are hard to come by now when you're singing. And singing for me it's a part of who I am and a part of what I did and the way that I felt like I could reach out to people in ways that they don't even know that you're sending them energy out into that auditorium or into that theater. I liked singing with the chorus for other reasons. I got to play, they always needed some comic relief. And at the time, our accompanist, and bless her heart, has passed on, She said to me, you're going to get picked for the funny stuff all the time. And I said, but I want the serious music. I want to sing solo serious music. She goes, no, but you don't understand. To be a comedian and sing is the hardest thing. And I said, well, I wish you'd tell other people that because, I really want to sing some serious stuff. So into about the first year that I was there in 1993, a noted singer gospel singer and country western singer in our community, Kim Wisdom, fabulous voice, if you can catch her, wonderful. She moved to Austin, and it sort of left this space that needed to be filled. And she had the most beautiful voice, still does, and I just couldn't see, maybe filling in for her, but I went to the auditions, and I got it. So I wanted to kind of tell you something first, before I give you this little piece. You might note that I said I sang with the Women's Chorus of Dallas. I am a man of trans experience. When I sang with the Women's Chorus of Dallas, that was my other avatar. You can Google me, but I won't tell you what that name was, but you can Google me. And so one of the songs that they chose for me to sing was for me, because here between my ears, I always was a boy and a man. But when I'm on stage, it's that thing where you're very fluid. You're not really any particular gender. In the day, we could call it being gender expansive. And that doesn't really mean you go in drag, but I got an opportunity to do that, to go in drag. It was a real reversal on my brain. So I'm going to give you a little piece of the piece that I liked and kind of was known for. I'm going to vocalize here a minute, just one real quick minute. I'm doing a senator thing here. Big gulp, okay. Just a little warm up. La 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 la. Okay. God loves a woman who teases her hair and sprays it so it don't fall down. God loves a woman who wears a brassiere and sleeps in a baby doll gown. But God don't like women who wear tinted glasses and cook with white wine instead of lard. And God says a woman who calls herself Ms. is a woman that plain makes him tired. No. Okay. I've got it on tape. So Tim Seelig said to me, we're going down to Austin. We're going to sing at this Baptist church that has these doors that they have really done a mess to, because that Baptist church was like right off the campus. They said, we are open and affirming right here in Austin, Baptist church. So we went and helped them celebrate. So Tim said to me, I want you to sing that song. So I did. In the Baptist church, I went to a little place down on Skillman, found myself the tightest purple sweater kind of dress. It showed everything. Then I had one of my friends, wasn't Mr. Emery here, but one of my friends gave me one of those wigs from Miss Thicket. Okay, big white thing. Had on a white purse and white gloves and those little pointy glasses, with the fake pearls coming down. And that's what I did at the Baptist church in Austin. Now, I was trying to fool you because I do have a voice that much better than that. You would think, Oliver, don't quit your daytime job. Just sing with a little chorus and that'll be fine. So I'm going to go quickly forward, and if somebody will just tell me what the time forward and tell you a little bit about when my life changed. And my life changed at the age of 55 when I met a woman who I'd known since 1993 in the women's chorus. And we got together after both of us were single again. she was single after 22 years. I was single after 3 again. 3 marriages, I guess. And so we have been together, and in that togetherness, my beloved gave me the strength to actually be honest with myself and with her. And that was to tell her, I'm masculine identified. And she then asked me, what does that mean? And I said, I don't know. It's a word that kind of explained me. But I later went on to figure out what that was. That all my life, since the age of 3, I'd always wanted to be a little boy. I never got to wear the things that my friends who were boys got to wear. My brothers always got things for Christmas that I couldn't even ask for because they were boy toys. And then they would get they wouldn't like the toys at all, and I'd take them into my room and use them. My mother would get a little irritated. Girls don't play with these toys. And my grandmother would continue to give me little silk panties and little white gloves every Christmas. And I would promptly just get rid of them and hide them because they didn't fit me. So at 55, I had another perfect storm with a surgery. I was under anesthesia. And those French sponges you get at Williams-Sonoma, they're really flat. Then you drop them in water and they go. Or for those of you who don't know Williams-Sonoma, they're those little things you got in plastic cases, and you put them in and it'd grow into a dinosaur. Okay, I got another nod over here. I can play to both ages, millennials all the way to boomers. Okay, so that's what my brain did on anesthesia. I think I know what Michael Jackson really liked about that stuff. It just went, and all of a sudden everything connected. That isn't to say that was the thing. It was that all my life I had shoved my life into a place that nobody really knew. I wasn't being authentic. I had a good life. I liked what I did, but I wasn't who I wanted to be. And many of us in this room right here, are going to spend our lives trying to be authentic, trying to be who we think we are. But heck, when you're in college, it's what your parents want because they're paying the bill. And then you finally get out, and maybe in your 30s or 40s, you begin to really get a taste of what it is to be you. And that might even mean that you leave what you're doing after college and you do something totally different. So allow yourself to do that. So again, at 55, I said to my wife, now, I can't do this any longer. And she says, what? And I said, well, I just had a breakdown while you're at work, and I was watching 2020 from 2007, and it was a story about a young boy who wants to be a girl. And I watched it and I had a breakdown, and I'm over it now, but now I can talk to you. So you weren't here when I was wallowing on the floor and crying and, gnashing my teeth, because doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem that you can do something like become the person you really want to be, because that means you're going to have to change some things. And they're not easy, and they're very expensive. So it was at that time I started moving forward to doing what we call a medical transition, transitioning by first seeing a therapist, convincing the therapist that you know what you're talking about. I didn't have a problem with a therapist. Then I get a letter, and the letter says, now you can go see a doctor. The doctor can now give you hormone replacement therapy, meaning estrogen no longer, you're going to be put on testosterone. Wasn't really a big deal. I mean, I'd been off menopausal symptoms for quite some time, so I wasn't producing anything that was, hell, my libido was in the bucket. What can I say? That's what they say about lesbians, After a while, you just go to bed and read a book. You might have quick sex, and then you get up and say, I think I need a sandwich. So, or go back to reading your book. So, but in this case, no, seriously, in this case, it was about getting that shot of testosterone and worrying about what that would do to my body at 55. What will it do to me? There were 3 things that really scared me. The first was I would lose my beloved. She didn't sign up for that. She didn't sign up for, oh yeah, I'm going to get testosterone and change my face. She said, I love this face. I don't want this face to go away. I also thought, I'm going to lose my voice. Some of you might think I did. But I was afraid to lose my voice. It was such a part of me. It was a part of my own healing, a part of my own groundingness. And then the third thing I was afraid of was losing hair. And I did. Now, and when I sang with the chorus, my hair was down to here. And so getting adjusted to this thing that testosterone does is, It's not how many hairs that you count that you're getting on your arms with testosterone in places you never knew it could grow. It's about losing what you have up here. So my wife is still with me. I learned to do something else with my voice, and that was, if I can't sing the way I used to, then I can use my voice when other people can't. So this past 8 years, I've been doing that. I've been involved in advocacy and activism, and mostly lots and lots and lots of education. Educating people in faith spaces, educating people in the health and healing industry who don't know anything about transgender people, and quite frankly will tell them to get out of their office. They'll tell them, I don't treat those kind of people, to your face. And then you go, I'm those kind of people. I have a heart, I have 2 kidneys, I have all of the things that you can treat. Why won't you treat me? Seriously, but we're moving with that movement. And I might say too, along with that movement, you're probably asking, well, I wonder what he thinks about Caitlin. You might not be thinking about that, but now you are. I really don't like what Caitlin did. I really don't care for what she did. And my reasons are pretty, ego-driven. First of all, I never ever thought I would get on the cover of Vanity Fair, so she's cool with that. But damn, if she beats me to the cover of AARP, I'm really pissed. And she'll get there. 60, 65, and she's going to get on the cover of AARP. I was trying for Men's Health as the first F to M, but I didn't have the hair for it. But I do know the young fellow who's up for it, the young F to M who's up for. F to M means female to male, excuse me. I use the terminology so much I expect you to, but got to meet you where you are. No. So the thing that I do miss about Dallas is that we really don't have those rich choruses we had before. It was a whole other time. The times in the 80s and early 90s when people were dying of AIDS all the time, every day. And they weren't being treated in the hospitals. They'd put them in a bed, but then they wouldn't go and feed them. So we put together something called the Buddy Project. And the Buddy Project were people who weren't afraid to be in the same room with the person who had AIDS. And so I started with that, and I ended up in a hospital over on Harry Hines, of which I will not mention. And there was a gentleman there who had come in from Malaysia. He was a furniture designer. And he had been in that bed for a good 2 months before somebody actually found out there was this gentleman there with nobody to come see him. They literally put on masks and shoved the food in. Now, this fellow had Guillain-Barré. Guillain-Barré is kind of like a form of polio. So he really couldn't get up and get to his tray. Once in a while, somebody would, do the right thing and bring it to him. But he did have stacks of food when I went in to see him. So I ordered them to come in my best doctor voice, come in, get this crap out of here, and get me a wheelchair. I put him in the wheelchair, and they said, you can't take him out. I said, watch me. He had not been outside in 2 months. So we put him in the chair. I bought him a special pair of, they were like size 15 sneakers. Put him in the chair, went right to the nurse's station, right up against the nurse's station. Of course, they backed up. Went to the elevator, put him on the elevator, and we spent an hour out there. That was one person. Then I was working with another gentleman. He was about 6'2". He weighed about 300 pounds. He looked like a quarterback. No, not quite like more than a quarterback. He was big. Lineman, that's what they call him. See, I don't do football. Anyway, I don't scratch my balls and drink beer and watch football. That doesn't always happen when you have testosterone, right? Right? Okay. I wasn't ever afraid of it, but people thought I would turn into something like that. So, but anyway, this gentleman I was working with, he would come to my office, and I would work with him, acupuncture and so forth. And over the course of 6 months, I watched him drop from around 300 pounds to about 125 pounds. At that point, he couldn't come see me anymore. So I'd take my table over to his apartment, set it up. I would pick him up out of bed and put him on that table and work with him and listen to him. Until one day I got a call that said, you won't need to visit this gentleman anymore. We'll have a memorial in 2 days. And it was on and on like that. We are not really serving our youth by not telling them those stories, but they're youth. they can't see themselves in that position because the kind of pharmacology we have now allows people to live way beyond those years that the 80s showed us and the 90s showed us. So it's just easy for them to see, well, if this happens to me, I'll just take a pill. And it's not that easy. It's not that easy living with AIDS and making sure you take those pills. So talking to youth is another big part of what I do in Dallas. I was with Youth First for 5 years on their board, did their volunteer training, and worked with their gender identity group. And I've also am now an advisor on board Build Bridges Network, which is dealing exclusively with LGBT elders. So all those boomers who are LGBT want to make sure that they can be treated appropriately in a nursing home, that somebody who might find out that they're transgender or they're lesbian or they're gay or bisexual or queer, that those folks might do something like this. They may say, I can't let my friends come here because they'll find out, the staff will find out. And if they find out that I'm transgender or queer, bisexual, lesbian, or gay, then they probably won't give me a bath. They might not even bring my food in. You see where I'm going? Now, nursing homes are not the best thing anyway, but when you add the layer of having a stigma applied to you because you're living in East Texas or here in Dallas, we have to do things to help our group, the millennials, the Gen Xers, and the boomers working together to know that we need safety in those places where it isn't safe. So that's what we're doing with Build Bridges Network. I'm involved with the Transgender Education Network of Texas. I was chair for a number of years, and that's all educational, going around the state, doing that sort of thing. So I'm kind of one of those quiet people. I'm kind of what I could call myself something like a compassionate disruptor. And I like that better than get in your face. I've been known to get in your face, but I find that just being a good, compassionate listener and finding out what we have in common helps us to stretch into a better dialogue, a richer dialogue, that we can see what's common, gain some empathy about what we might be in discourse about, and then come to an agreement that we're all human beings, and we all like things like we want to be seen, we want to be heard, okay? We want to be told that we're doing a good job. Just 3 big things. And so I'm going to leave you with just a quote. I'm going to paraphrase it because my brain has dementia on some sides. So this is supposed to be a Mark Twain. And Mark Twain said there's 2 significant days in your life. One is the day you're born, and one is the day you figure out why you were born. So thank you very much.